Yo, what's up, diggity dogs? Give me a high five! In the last episode, we did a ranking of the Danny Phantom characters, and now we're doing a ranking of one of my new favorite video games of all time, Dark Souls. So, we're going to be doing a ranking of all the bosses in the game from Ahoy to the whole landfill in ranking. Just a quick ranking. I did beat Artorias the Abyss Walker, Manus Father of the Abyss, or Flying Black Dragon Calamite. This is because by the time I reached them, I was so exhausted and I just wanted to be. I was so close to defeating Gwyn, and so I just decided that I had enough of the game. Sorry about these guys. So I'm going to be doing a ranking of all of the bosses in the game. Here we go. So grab your Estus flask and upgrade your weapon, because here we go. First off, the Four Kings. I'd call this a good boss fight. It's they're in the lore, they're basically just the Nazgul or something from Lord of the Rings, as these kings who swore fealty to this guy and got corrupted. So this is a good boss fight, I'd say. The pitch black arena you fight them in when you just plunge in there. That's one of the easily one of the cooler arenas in the entire game. That's kind of an aesthetic I like, where it's just this pitch black void, but everything is, all the objects in it are perfectly lit or something. I really like their aesthetic, but the boss itself, it's really a test of your ability, how quickly you could deal damage. Just once you see the guy, just start wailing on him, use all your abilities and stuff, all your spells, just get rid of, if you're, just be as quick as possible, because you only got 45 seconds, because, it's harder than dealing with one of the Four Kings, two of the Four Kings, and the name is actually a lie, because, there's actually a fifth one or something that shows up, but not if you're quick enough. Just remember to be quick on the Four Kings. The Gaping Dragon, I feel like this is somewhere average in terms of quality. On the one hand, the arena and setup and the look are pretty good. Really gives you the sense of that you're facing this colossus, this colossal monstrosity. But on the other hand, the boss fight itself isn't difficult. They just give him too much gosh darn HP. I mean, I did the math. I had to whack him about 100 times with my sword to defeat him. So it's less a challenge of it's less challenging and more you need to last. He's fairly easy to dodge. Doesn't have that many strong attacks. It's just more the fact that he has so much gosh darn HP that's the problem. I mean, so yeah, that's it. It's befitting of his size, but it's just doesn't really fit the quality of the boss fight, I guess. Great Grey Wolf Sif. I remember this boss fight had its own Wikipedia page, so great. I mean, on the one hand, it's very tragic that you're fighting a dog. Very tragic, a Sif story with Artorias, whose boss I didn't defeat, sadly. I mean, easily one of the best aesthetic looks of a boss fight. Amazing music with a few million views on YouTube. But what I'd say I didn't really like about this boss fight, to be honest, was the fact that yeah, I feel the boss itself was pretty easy. Once you get under him or her, I forget their gender identity, I guess. They're pretty easy once you get under them. I mean, they're such a they're not really that quick. They don't have that it's just I feel like I said, once you get under them, they just really aren't that hard a boss fight. Maybe it's just I got to them. Maybe it's because I got to a Sif pretty late. Because of how interconnected and non-linear Dark Souls is. Sometimes you'll get there's not really a set order. Sometimes you'll be way under leveled, and sometimes you'll be so over leveled that fighting a boss fight will be just about as difficult as the Homelander opening a bag of chips. So unless it's the bag of chips is made out of packaging that you need scissors to open, otherwise even like Homelander couldn't open that, I guess. But anyway, Great Grey Wolf setup, like just like not really that challenging a boss. Like, I mean, great setup and aesthetic, just not that much of a challenge. Gwyn, the Lord of Cinder. And I remember my dad was in the room when I was fighting this guy. Like, I texted him like a boss guide. Like, I was like at level 85 when I fought this guy. And like, he's like, I mean, everything about, like, this is just a straight up challenge. Like, it tests your ability to dodge, ability to parry, ability to, like, your damage output. Like, I know this guy, like, like, relative to the rest of the game, he isn't that much of a challenge. He's not exactly Radagon, or he's really much of a Radicon or Lord of, or Soul of Cinder. But yeah, like, it was pretty, like, it took me like 2 days to defeat him, and 2 days of my dad yelling at him. I remember I defeated him the same day I saw Elemental in theater and went to the had my personal trainer. But yeah, like, easily one of the best final boss themes in gaming. But like, I know, like, the joke is he's extremely easy to parry, and once you can do that, he becomes pretty easy. Like, I think the real thing is just, like, stay far enough away from him that he, like, can't kick you, but close enough that he won't lunge for you. And he should be pretty easy. Like, once he does that first slash, just run up to him and parry the second one. But one last piece of advice. If you get the Hornet Ring, like, I forget how to get, but once you get the Hornet Ring, this guy becomes a joke. Like, I'd say a pretty funny joke, I guess, but like, if you get the Hornet Ring, you just need to parry him 6 times, and he's deader than Tony Stark. So, I mean, yeah, Ahoy, he is really one of the most iconic final bosses in gaming, but, yeah, he just, like, becomes a joke once you're good enough at parrying him. Iron Golem. I think, like, Sen's Fortress, what I really liked about, like, Sen's Fortress is really a test of your ability to cheese. Like, not beat them in a straight-up fight, not be so over-leveled we could beat them with dumb force. But I really tout Dark Souls, the amount of, like a lot of the fights, you can't beat them with straight-up, like, pure strategy, like Sen's Fortress, like the booby traps and the, amount of, like, with, like, the arrow booby traps and the Indiana Jones boulders. Da-da-da-da! Also, we all know Dial of Destiny is gonna stink. But, yeah, like, dealing with those high HP, like, reptilian snake guys, like, Sneeple, like, if you could use, like, the arrow traps and boulders to cheese them, pretty easy. Like, and there was also, like, making sure you didn't fall off the ledges with, like, the swing ropes. But Iron Golem, one thing you know about this guy is that he has a simply massive HP bar. Like, you just, like, given the amount of damage he does and the size of HP, you're just not going to beat him in a straight fight. So the thing is, like, make it so that when he collapses over, he's going to fall over the edge of the ledge, which really makes it, like, he's a good halfway boss fight and a really good example of how in Dark Souls, it's not just like how it's like cheesing. It's not just cheating; it is the strategy to beat them a lot of the time. So this is just a good boss fight. Moonlight Butterfly, just garbage. Maybe I was just, like, showed up late to the Darkroot Garden. But just sort of like like this boss fight, like, I mean, on the one hand, like, they're straight up out of reach most of the fight. But once they fly in, it's basically the equivalent of swatting them away like a pesky bee. So just sort of a garbage boss fight. Nito, this guy, I'd say this guy was a Nito boss fight, just good. Like, I mean, I think the most annoying part of him is the corpse run. Like, he's not that difficult, but like the corpse run, it's basically you're basically going to have to run an entire Tour de France in order to get to this guy, run past a bunch of the giant skeletons, pit wheels, booby traps, and a bunch of other stuff to get to him. And the boss fight, so, like, apart from the, like, there are a bunch of skeletons that, like, respawn if you don't defeat them. but like, I mean, when you kill him, but like, Nito, like, he just, has such like a powerful, like, knockdown attack, basically kills them himself, so he's basically the worst boss in the series. Not boss battle, but as in boss, like, leader of his men. So, yep, just stick close to him, like, block when he does the AoE attacks that knock down his own men, and you, just sort of, should be fine in defeating the, spooky, scary skeletons version of No Face. And, yep. And, yep, a good boss fight at the end of one of the worst, easily the worst level in the game, if you ask me. Ornstein and Smough. When people think of Dark Souls, there is like one boss fight, apart from the guy with the plin plon thingy parry that everyone remembers. It's Ornstein and Smough. I mean, the great example of a fat and skinny duo. One guy with a hammer, one guy with that thunder spear. Like, I mean, it's pick your own poison. Really, like, I mean, a good test of everything you know in the game. Ability to dodge bosses, ability to deal damage, ability to a bunch of other stuff. Like, I mean, I could not for the life of me, face this guy without Solaire of Astor. I really felt bad when I donked up his questline in the Demon Ruins. But yeah, Ornstein and Smough took me by far the longest to defeat. Just as long as it did to fight Radagon in Elden Ring. Oh, the Elden Ring! But yeah, I feel like if I had to choose between everything, like there was one guy who managed to defeat this with a guitar solo controller. That guy's legendary. But what makes this such a, I think like personally, I think that dealing with superpowered Smough is slightly easier because like Ornstein, like he has lower HP and like is faster. So it's quicker to like lure him out and then deal with him. And that's all I have to say about this iconic boss fight. Great music, great 2/3 way point, great climax to the conclusion to the 2/3 point. Easily one of the most famous boss fights in gaming history. There it is. Pinwheel, this is another garbage boss fight. They give him his own cutscene, but he has such a low HP that the fight's gonna be over before he can do anything. He's the gluttonous demon from Dark Souls 2, that there really isn't anything to say about this guy. He's just that easy and unmemorable. Seath the Scaleless. I think this was just a solid, good boss fight. On the one hand, I do think his backstory is a bit ableist, but that's hard to say. But on the other hand, like, I didn't use one potion when I fought this guy. The corpse run's pretty annoying, like, especially with the invisible bridges, but like, once you get to this guy, just, like, stick to, like, the periphery, the edge of his tail, and he should be pretty easy. I didn't need to use one potion when I fought this guy. Just destroy the crystal thing behind him, and you can damage him. And there really isn't that much to say. Like, I mean, apparently he does have curses, and, like, I can't imagine needing to deal with this guy with curse damage, but that's about that. So, just a all-around good boss fight. Asylum Demon, great example of a first boss fight. When you first face this guy, I saw this one video that called him the perfect, like, prologue to Dark Souls. When you first face him, he's utterly insurmountable. But then, after exploring, level grinding, and finding an advantage, you can, like, jump down on him and finally overcome him. And but otherwise, it's a first boss fight, so of course it's gonna be pretty easy. And there's not that much to say about him. He does get like 2 reskins over the course of the game, so there's that. But it really captures like the aesthetic and gameplay of this game. So a good boss fight. Stray Demon. Okay, this guy is the whole landfill for one reason, and 2 good reasons for one reason. He's the for why he's the whole land for 2 reasons. one, when you fight him, you basically land right in front of him with half HP, and that stupid attack where he just waves his wand, does like the giant fart cloud that takes you for half your HP. When I fought the Stray Demon, I had more or less made my way. I was just about to fight Gwyn and already dealt with the Demon Fire Sage, so there was that. But yeah, that one AoE attack is the whole problem. And the Stray Demon is easily the, like, I mean, in a vacuum it's not the toughest boss fight, but in the other, and it is optional, so that, but yeah, easily the worst boss if you ask me, even worse than a certain other guy. The Taurus Demon. I think, okay, a lot of people think this was a fairly simple boss fight, but I think it was a great boss fight. And the reason for that is simply because of how much he invokes Berserk. He's basically just Nosferatu Zod. You fight him on a castle wall. I think like this boss fight really captures the influence of Kentaro Miura, R.I.P. on the Dark Souls series. Even though Dark Souls 3 is basically the ultimate encapsulation of what you get for Kentaro Miura's work as a video game. But yeah, the Taurus Demon, like, it's a very simple boss fight, very easy one. When I first played this game a year ago on my old PS3, which is on the Fritz, I think, like, I only won because he basically flung himself off a roof. But the Taurus Demon, great boss fight, simply for the aesthetic of it. And, like, when you face him and the Capra Demon again in the Demon Ruins, it really just helps you feel how far you've progressed in this game, how much stronger you've become. Like, whenever an early boss fight is just an enemy in the late game, really helps capture how, like, far you've progressed in the game. So this is a great fight, if you ask me. The Bed of Chaos, garbage. Just garbage. Like, I mean, it's not really a boss fight, it's just a giant tree with annoying arms. I never really used archery, but, like, the only time I really used it to progress was when I used archery to, like, to destroy the shield from afar. Like, the fact that the shield things don't respawn when you come back to the game really just makes this feel not like a boss fight. And the Bed of Chaos, and when you get in there, it's not even like the actual Witch of Izalith, it's just this one pesky bee hiding out in the tree. I mean, a evil tree boss fight like that could really work. I mean, it worked in Kirby, it worked in Final Fantasy V, worked in Dark Souls 3, just not here. The Sanctuary Guardian, I feel like this is kind of like a good boss fight. Really tests your skill for the difficulty of the DLC. Like most of the bosses I haven't defeated, like it's just like I had to return the game to the library. But what I really like about this boss fight, I mean the like really cool aesthetic for the boss fight, and like I think the thing is, once you memorize it doesn't really have that much of a max HP, so like once you manage to memorize its move patterns, it becomes pretty easy. But it has such an aggressive moveset and high damage output that it can really like mess up with you. But just but once you memorize the attack pattern, once you can last long enough against it, it becomes pretty easy. The Bell Gargoyles, similar to Good Doggo, Great Gravel Sif. I fought the boss so late in the game that I more or less just mopped the floor with them. I basically knocked out the first one right when the second one got there. But, and, I mean, I think, like, easily one of the hardest boss fights for me, and the one that really got me stuck on Elden Ring. Oh, the Elden Ring was the, Valiant Gargoyles on Dark Souls, Elden Ring. That's the one that really got me stuck. But the Bell Gargoyles, I really like the aesthetic. Like, you're basically fighting, Goliath from Disney's Gargoyles. That's, epic. And it really captures like the hot medieval fantasy, dark fantasy aesthetic of the game. So just a good boss fight. Capra Demon, garbage. We all hate this guy. I mean, in a vacuum, like in a straight fight, it's not that hard a boss fight. The problem is that like when you first enter, you're basically, it's basically right in front of you, lunging for you. And, like, it's in this tiny arena, like, not even a, like, basically just this closet-sized arena that you fight him in. And there are these two other annoying doggos that, like, just, like, block your path. Like, they're not even that tough, they just exist, like, block your path when you try and, like, run to, like, a corner. Which is really annoying more than genuinely difficult. And it's just, like, another example of how, like, the amount of fake difficulty there can be in Dark Souls. I mean, these games are very legitimately challenging, and I do respect, Miyazaki himself. But otherwise, this is just, like, an example of fake difficulty in this game. Ceaseless Discharge, easily one of the, easily the funniest name in the entire series, because Discharge. But yeah, like, the first time you, like, face him, like, when he first appears, he's not that hard, but then, like, the challenge is, like, running, like the cheese strategy is the only way I can imagine beating him, just, like, run into that, like, corner thing, keep baiting him to attacking, and then just whacking him, when, like, he gets his arm, like, glitches through the wall. And he has that stupid, red Kamehameha wave that, like, just chunks you for all your health and is impossible to dodge. Once you, like, can safely get yourself into that corner where you can keep whacking him, cheesing him from distance, he's not that difficult. But this, I mean, this was a really good fire level, I think. And good fire boss. The Centipede Demon average. On the one hand, like, they give you this ludicrously small arena to face him in, and, like, he doesn't have that much HP, but the real problem is, like, he's such a massive boss with such a small hitbox, it's impossible to hit him, plus your camera, like, goes haywire, and he has this, like, I think it's not that difficult a boss fight, like, given how, like, low his HP is, but he has a bunch of cheap movesets, like, the camera thing, and the, like, the weak hitbox and the hard to dodge grab attacks. Yeah, the grab attacks are the worst thing in this video game, if you ask me. But so, just like an average boss fight. Not because it's, like, just bland, but because it's balanced out. On the one hand, yeah, it doesn't even really look that much like a centipede. And, I think this is one of the more interesting examples of a lava level in a video game, so just average. Chaos Witch Quelaag, I remember this boss fight, like, it was fairly, just a good boss fight. It's a spider boss fight, and I remember that, like, once you managed to, like, get into the rhythm, it was fairly easy to defeat. Just, like, once you understand the rhythm, like most Dark Souls boss, you just need to understand the rhythm of the attacks in order to defeat them, and there's that. I mean, there's the spider boss fight in Dark Souls 2, which had such a tiny area you could actually damage them, that it was kind of BS, and otherwise it was completely made out of armor. So, I'd say this boss fight was just sort of, just good, I guess. Crossbreed Priscilla, good. I feel like this was unique in a... What? Say something? Never mind. Crossbreed Priscilla, I feel like this was a creative example of an invisibility boss fight, needing to track down their footprints in order to see them. But, like, I think the real strategy is to go into, like, that bridge thing, and then, like, when they try and follow you there, just to whack the poo out of them, and then they're pretty easy. But what I found really annoying is, like, yeah, that's what the area itself, like, but I mean, I don't really know the lore behind Crossbreed Priscilla, but this was just one of the more creative boss fights in Dark Souls, and a great example of how, like, tested the player's ingenuity in needing to defeat them. Dark Sun Gwendolyn, this boss fight was just sort of mediocre. Not really that difficult, but just mediocre on the one hand. Like, it's a unique boss fight, but the whole way, but, like, a lot of their attacks, like, they just teleport right when you get to him. I feel like this is an interesting, I mean, like, it's a unique boss fight, but not unique in a good way. I feel like their attacks, like, just sort of, like, can be really annoying more than difficult and would deal way too much damage, if you ask me. And, but, Gwendolyn, yeah. I think I defeated him the same day I, found him at, like, 1 a.m. But this boss fight was just sort of annoying with how fast he was able to teleport away, and like really when you're like desperate for stuff like extra souls, it really just exists as like extra souls and something to do while you're trying to like grind for to defeat Ornstein and Smoo. So just sort of mediocre, I guess. And finally, a reskin of a reskin, or is it a reskin that gets reskinned? The Demon Fire Sage. There really isn't anything to this boss fight that wasn't in the Stray Demon boss fight, like nothing at all. I mean, the arena, like, I have to give him an average tier because, like, you do fight him later in the game, and, like, they don't have, like, the thing where you, like, drop down with half HP in front of him. So, and, like, they did give you more, like, areas to, like, hide behind pillars, so this boss fight is just average. Like, they removed what made Stray Demons so gave Stray Demons so much fake difficulties, but he's still like a Demon Fire Stage, still has a giant fart cloud attack, so he's just average. So yeah, my ranking of all of the bosses of Dark Souls 1. Thank you for